Hi, I'm Howie Silbiger, and this is the Howie Silbiger Show right here on the True Talk Radio Network. Stay tuned. In about an hour, Political Hitman will air right here on True Talk Radio and on Israel News Talk Radio. I figured I'd jump in for a half hour or so just to say hi and to do a show tonight. There is there was a couple of things I wanted to talk about, a couple of things I wanted to cover. Because there are things going on that are just bizarre. It's just strange and bizarre to me. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, the first thing I wanted to look at was this confirmation hearing for the American Supreme Court. Amy Coney Barrett, who apparently is a great jurist, is running for the, well, she's not running. She was appointed to the Supreme Court. Her confirmation hearing is going on, has been going on for the last day or so. Today, there was a bizarre moment today in the confirmation hearing where Senator Mazie Hirono from Hawaii looked at the prospect, looked at the Judge Amy Coney Barrett, and asked her if she was a sexual predator. This is the strangest. I've watched at least 4 or 5 of these confirmation hearings in the last few years, and this is the strangest question I have ever seen a senator ask. Well, I'll walk that back a little bit because I watched the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation hearings. This is the strangest question I've ever heard a normal confirmation hearing ask a prospective justice. Are you a sexual predator? Imagine being in a job interview and somebody asks you that question. I mean, the answer was, of course, no, I'm not. The look of confusion on Amy Coney Barrett's face was palatable. I mean, you saw she was a little confused by the question, and she persisted, Senator Hirono, and she asked her twice, "Have you ever been convicted or accused of a sexual harassment crime?" As if she could catch her in a corner, catch her in a lie. It is so bizarre. American politics have gotten really bizarre lately. I know we're in an election year. I know that the Democrats feel that the Republicans shouldn't do what they tried to do 4 years ago. But that was the bizarrest question I've ever seen anybody ask anybody. But that's not really what I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to get it off my chest because I thought that was weird. I wanted to talk about now after midnight. At midnight, we'll be talking on Political Hitman about the riots in New York City, about the Jewish community, the Orthodox Jewish community rioting, and one member of the Orthodox Jewish community who called the mayor and reported his own community for violating COVID restrictions. We'll talk about that during Political Hitman just after midnight. Right now, I wanted to talk about Boisbriand, Quebec. It's the site of many Tosh people. The ultra-Orthodox community of Tosh lives in Boisbriand, Quebec. And they are under strict guidelines, same way Montreal and many other cities in Quebec are under strict guidelines to not gather. Synagogues are limited to 25 people. Houses, they're in a red zone. In Quebec, a red zone means that you're pretty much locked down. You're not supposed to meet with people. You're not supposed to see people. You're not supposed to stay home unless you're going to work. You're supposed to stay home. For Simchat Torah, for the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah, which started on Saturday night, apparently 1,000 people gathered in the synagogue in Boisbriand. Now, I understand the philosophy. I understand the philosophy that if that God predetermines everything. I understand their philosophy. God predetermines everything, and if you're going to get sick from COVID, it is determined by God, and you're not going to change it. So staying at home or going to the synagogue is going to end up in the same result, because if this is God's will, then this is God's will. I get the argument. I can't say I agree with the argument, but I get it. I get the philosophy. I understand it. And I understand that, that God controls the world and God makes all these decisions. Fine, but God gave us the power of freedom of choice, and which is why God could give us 100 years to live on the earth, and we could decide to end it after 20. We could jump in front of a truck, or we could jump in front of a car. Now I know it's a circular argument because if we do that, then God knew we were going to do that, and then do we really have 100 years? It's a philosophical argument that I'm not really going to get into right now. But what I am going to say is that we are living in a time where lives are in danger. Now, yes, the statistics are pretty clear that people who don't have an underlying medical condition, that people who are between a certain age group, the chances of getting seriously ill from COVID are very low. That is true. It is true that that there is questions on whether masks are effective and whether whether lockdowns are effective. That is true too, and it is true that that there are segments of the population that don't believe that the disease is as dangerous as it's being made out to be. And I can respect all those beliefs because most of them, can't say all of them, but most of them are actually rooted in some kind of science. So I can accept those beliefs. What I can't accept, and what bothers me, is that we don't live in a bubble. The Jewish community is not living in a bubble. And because we don't live in a bubble, we are responsible for our actions. We are held responsible for actions, sometimes a little more than everyone else by the non-Jewish community. And our goal, our mission in Judaism is to spread a light onto the nations, is to set the example, the moral example, the religious example upon the nations. When we do things like this, when we gather when we're not supposed to gather, when we defy the rules that everybody else most other people are trying to comply with, when we put public health at risk, we are not only endangering ourselves and endangering our community and prolonging the agony of COVID. What we are doing is we are also desecrating God's name. We are shedding a bad light upon the community. We are encouraging the people who are teetering on the brink of being anti-Jewish to go all the way. We are encouraging that the kind of behavior that we exhibit when we as a community, and I subscribe, by the way, to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Menachem Mendel Schneerson's philosophy of there's no Orthodox Jews or conservative Jews or Reform Jews. These are artificial divisions. A Jew is a Jew. I subscribe to that, and the problem is that the non-Jews subscribe to that too. The ones who hate Jews subscribe to that too. So I've heard already, because this happened on Saturday night. It is now Tuesday, almost Wednesday. And I've heard already people saying, those damn Jews. Not those damn Orthodox Jews, not those damn ultra-Orthodox Jews, those damn Jews. They're prolonging COVID. They're causing me more problems. And that's the issue. That's the issue. It's not so much that they want to endanger their communities, because, if you choose to endanger yourself and your neighbors and your children, you choose to do that, and there's a consequence to every action. But the consequence to this action is more than endangering your community with COVID. It is more than saying, okay, so if we get sick, we will quarantine in our little community, and we will deal with it. And if people get seriously ill, then we'll deal with that too. It's more than that. It was covered on the news. It was splashed across the news, and the Bois-Brillant community, the Tosh community in Bois-Brillant, don't necessarily get along with their neighbors to start with. So this just throws fire. It throws gas onto the fire. I know it's very difficult. It is. The holidays were not the same without going to synagogue. The holidays were not the same. Simchat Torah was not the same without dancing with the Torah. But once again, as every rabbi across North America has reiterated over and over and over again, saving lives, the potential to save one life, supersedes anything in Judaism. So, not going to the synagogue and not dancing with the Torah and wearing a mask is a sacrifice that we make to save lives during this pandemic. And there should be no debate about that. There really should be zero debate about that. But of course, there always is. There's always people out there who think or who believe that they're above the law, that they're more special, that somehow they're immune, or somehow they live in a situation where God is giving them more protection than everyone else. Even if that was true, which it isn't, but even if that was true, and the reason I say it isn't true is because some of these communities were decimated more than any other communities in North America. So even if that was true, and God had a special umbrella over the Jewish people, that we are saved from COVID, that we are not going to be affected by COVID, even if that was true, which once again, let me reiterate, is not true, we still, if there is any chance of us spreading this disease, this horrible plague, to anybody else, we still should be taking every precaution possible as to not spread the disease any further. And that means that 1,000 people should not have shown up to that synagogue. That is unacceptable, and I won't say it's unforgivable, because unforgivable is really, really harsh, and I'm not going to go that far. But it is unacceptable and condemnable, and I'll be 100% clear that this kind of behavior is condemnable. Now, the Torch community, let me reiterate, the Torch community has been very good in following the COVID guidelines. At the beginning of the pandemic, they did isolate themselves. They had roadblocks. They didn't let anybody into their community, and they've been very good with social distancing and everything else. But at the end of the day, events like this, which eventually become super spreader events, and we don't know what the results of that is yet. We'll know in a week or two. Events like this that become super spreader events are really unacceptable and really condemnable. So this is really what I wanted to talk about. This is really what I wanted to say. I wanted to condemn it and say, let's just calm down. Let's just back up, and let's follow the COVID guidelines. However stupid and however insignificant and however they come across, because they do come across as stupid and insignificant in certain cases. But let's follow the COVID guidelines so that one day, hopefully in the near future, we'll be able to get back to some semblance of normalcy. Join me at midnight for Political Hitman right here on the True Talk Radio Network. Thank you so much for joining me. I know I've been doing these short hits. We're going to get back to our regular schedule. The holidays are over. We'll get back to our regular schedule starting this coming Sunday. So thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in about an hour on Political Hitman right here on the True Talk Radio Network.